Hi, and welcome to Between Rounds. I am your host, Zosha Van Meter. Today, we are sitting down with local Lynn City Councilor at Large, Nicole McClain, to discuss initiative. Thank you for being here today, Nicole.
Thank you so much for having me, Zosha. I'm excited about this conversation.
Me too.
Yeah.
So, for the listeners who may not be as familiar with you, could you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
So, as you said, Nicole McClain, counselor at large, also the founder of a nonprofit called North Shore Juneteenth Association. Lived in Lynn all my life, born here. I went to Lynn Tech, graduated from there. I'm a mother of one son who has now two children and one on the way, so a grandmother as well, a wife, and I'm just really a community leader at this point. You know, I've come to a point where I accept that title, and I enjoy being that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think that that's kind of a moment for a lot of people, especially over the past 5 years, as new people have emerged as local electeds or just being active in the community. Let's talk about that emerging and like really accepting that role of being a community leader. What does that feel like?
It is interesting to have accepted it because I didn't always feel like I was a community leader. I've done a lot in the city, and I've come a long way with just beginning and taking things to fruition. And I accept now that that's what a leader is, and that's what I've been doing. So it's new. It's a new acceptance of it. Look around, Nicole. Look what you've done. Look what, what I mean, the things that have happened because your existence, right? So it feels, I guess, validating because you're validating yourself when you're saying, yes, I accept that title and this is who I am. It's not really about what other people say so much as it's me really saying, yeah, accept that.
And stepping into that power.
Yeah, and stepping into it.
Yeah,
exactly.
that's
very
awesome.
interesting feeling. Feels like, ooh,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know it's a new hat, right?
Right.
It's a new hat. Not that you need more hats,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a new hat to wear, and it makes you move through spaces a little differently,
Right.
too. So let's talk about North Shore Juneteenth. So that's a nonprofit that you started. So speaking of initiative, this is something that you identified that the North Shore needed. So tell me a little bit more about North Shore Juneteenth and your mission there.
Yeah, so I began this organization because I feel like there was a void of Black Americans being celebrated in our city, and we're very diverse. We're a very cultural forward community. So I was wondering where we were as, because I'm a Black American, so when I say we, I mean myself. So I was wondering where we were in that. And I know we do have other organizations in our city that are trying to give voice to Black American culture, but they're kind of quiet, So seeing that Juneteenth wasn't really being celebrated loudly in our city, I'm like, I wanted to do something like that. I wanted to show that Black Americans are here and we have a culture to share with everyone as well. And that's how it started, and then it became part of just educating the community about Black American culture because I felt also that we were misunderstood and people didn't really understand who Black Americans are, what we have contributed, why we should be respected, and why our culture should also be, embraced by our community as well. So I feel that's why I started it, and it started off as being named the Lynn Juneteenth Committee at first. And then as we kept on going on, we found that there was such a huge gap in just Black American culture being shared. So we ended up changing it to North Shore Juneteenth Association Incorporated.
That's awesome. And I did notice that for this year's Juneteenth celebrations, you have something that's happening at Swampscott Town Hall. Do you want to tell us a couple of those
so
events?
Part of our organization is to obviously raise awareness about the Juneteenth holiday. So we go across communities. So we have a flag raising and celebration happening in Swampscott, celebration in Marblehead and flag raising, celebration in Salem, Wynnum, Revere,
Oh, wow.
Walpole. Like, there's a lot of different places that we are collaborating with these communities to help them recognize and commemorate the Juneteenth holiday, which is about the freedom of Black American people.
That's awesome. No, I
Yeah.
love that. Um, so yeah, so going back to initiative, let's talk about just the very beginning, the early days. What so we know what sparked the idea of needing to create North Shore Juneteenth. What did creating that look like? Did where did it start? Did it start with paperwork? Did it start with a couple of applications? What were the barriers that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
All right, so it started with trying to gain information, right? Like, how do I start this? How do I begin having a celebration in the city? What are the steps, right? So I started reaching out to leaders in the community that I grew up around, and trying to reach out to them and asking them if they wanted to be a part. So a big part of my initiative is collaboration. I always want to reach out and see who I can work with to make something happen. So I reached out to these leaders to see if they were interested in helping me to make this a celebration. Like, how can we do this together? Would you want to join me? Not everybody wants to join you. Even when you think it's a great idea and you're like, yes, people are going to love this. That's not always the case. So some people said yes, some said no, and then I ended up turning to friends, close people that know me, when I wasn't getting what I wanted from the leaders in our community. I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll start a little bit closer to home. So I reached out to friends, and they were on board immediately, and that's how we started it. We started it just by, you know, I don't like saying regular people, because leaders are regular people too. You know what I mean? So the people in our community, you know, decided, yes, I'll jump on, and we had about 5 women, all women, who decided that they were going to help me begin doing this in 2016. So 2016, we started reaching out to artists and reaching out to, various people in the community that could table at the event, organizations. And together we had our first Juneteenth celebration and flag raising in Lynn in 2017.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. So that means you guys are coming up on your 9th year this upcoming
This
year.
is our 10th year.
10th year. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
This
wow.
is our 10th year doing this. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's
9th
great.
year actually having the celebration, 10th year
As a
putting these things together, like
Yes.
organizing started in 2016. Yeah.
It's great, and just to see what you've become, growing from that small panel of 5 to 6 people to what you've accomplished most recently at like the Black Excellence 5K, seeing the large panel of volunteers, seeing the multiple groups that came out, because you had some people from, I think, was it Mass General?
Yeah.
They brought
the community caravan.
they brought the community caravan. And you had a couple of other vendors and a couple of other just like community resource spotlights. So it is great to see what that can grow into.
Exactly.
How do you? I see you on Facebook, I see you on social media all the time. Just all the things that you go to, all the events, all of the new things that you're planning. How do you keep up that momentum?
I think it's a why situation, right? Like, why am I doing this? What is it that I'm after? You know what I mean? So I think because I think it's important for people to vote. I think it's important for people to celebrate their culture. I think it's important for our youth to have a place to go and a way to grow and be productive. I think the creative community is important and valued and should be valued in our community. So it's all about what I want to see happen in the world, I think, and that's my why. Like, what do I feel is lacking, and what was lacking for me when I was growing up in this city, and how can I make that better for everybody else? I think it's all about leaving. I believe that I want to leave behind a better city for those coming behind me, and I want people to celebrate being alive, being here. And I think that's what pushes me to do something all the time, every day, is that why that I have. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's easy to it sounds like it's easy to really pinpoint the why and the motivation. Do you feel like there's still barriers that you hit when you have an idea? So like you have where you are, you have what you want to see in the city or in the community. What are the barriers in that space? How do you identify them? And then more importantly, how do you overcome them?
Yeah, I think navigating no's, like I said, when I first started trying to do North Shore Juneteenth Association, well, at that time, Lynn Juneteenth Committee, people weren't on board that I thought would be, right? So then I could have just stopped there, like, well, nobody really wants to do this, so I'm not going to do it. But if you really want to do something, you're going to figure it out. You figure out how to make it happen. So it didn't happen on the level that I wanted to happen right away. So then you go down the level because this level was saying no.
Yeah, always have a plan B,
right,
C,
exactly.
D,
This
E.
level is saying no. So now you got to navigate the no. Like they're saying no. So where else can I go to make this happen?
I like that,
You know what I
navigating
mean?
the no.
Yeah. So that's what I've learned. Those are the barriers that I have mostly. Is like when you go and ask for permission for something. You may get a no, you know what I mean? So then you have to figure out how can, which way can you get to yes? So you got to navigate until you get to where you want to go. So that's what I've become a master of, I think. Yeah.
Is navigating the no's.
Navigating the no's.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
What do you think is the biggest skill that you have in navigating the no's?
That I'll go to one person or somebody that I think is a key player and I'll say something, maybe they'll say no, and then I'll go adjacent. It doesn't even have to be, you know what I mean, a level below. It could be like next door.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, maybe not you, but you. You know what I mean? So you just keep on going till, or, you know what I mean, you have your own network, and that's what it resulted to with the North Shore Juneteenth Association is that I have my own network. I don't have to go outside of that to make things happen. I can go within my network and say, who here that already, is full of yeses, you know what I mean, who here will allow me to do or help me to make something happen. So I think it's, being creative with how you get to the yes.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Many ways to skin a cat, right?
Right, there you go. You got to be creative. And you can get there, and it might not start at the top. It may start, you may have to build it up to where you wanted it to be, but you'll get to the yes somehow. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I just had a question, and now it left my head.
That happens.
Poor Edwin, I'm so sorry. So as we're coming up on your first decade of North Shore Juneteenth, what do you think, or what would you say is your greatest achievement with the nonprofit so far? The greatest initiative that you took, that you launched, that you think is the greatest success to come out of North Shore Juneteenth so far?
That's a good question. You know what? I think that my greatest success is the people that I've helped through this organization. When I say the creative community, I mean, I pay singers, I pay, performers, creative people, like artists, and they're so thankful for that. So I think that that's like the biggest part of this organization is being able to bless people, you know what I mean, whether it be financially or with a bigger network, because when they come with me to different places, they meet different people, and now they're like performing in Everett somewhere, or they're doing something over here now because of the connection they found by working with North Shore Juneteenth Association. I think that's the biggest. Yeah.
That's awesome. One thing that I have definitely noticed about you, whether it's through North Shore Juneteenth or through your role as the at-large counselor or just your role as a person in this community who is well known and well respected, you definitely embody lift as you climb. And I have noticed that in just as recently with the launching of the food pantry at Grace Methodist, being willing to share your platform and being able to share the space to help and hopefully ensure the success of another nonprofit project. So that's one thing that I've always noticed about you and definitely appreciate about you is that you help those who are also looking to take initiative and start new things in the city. You share in that, and I think that that's an amazing thing. That you embody and that you lead with that example.
I think that's so important, though. I think it's really important because, like I said, when I was starting out, it wasn't like, oh, come and I'll help you. You know what I mean? It was more like, Nicole, figure that shit out on your own. I'm sorry for swearing. Can you swear?
I guess so. Oh, we're going to find out.
So it was more like, Nicole, figure it out. You know what I mean? And then I did. But then it's like when people come to me and they want help, I want to be able to say, where can I help? You know what I mean? If I can't give you the actual blueprint to what you're trying to do.
Can I point you to somebody else?
What is it that I can do? You know what I mean? Because I feel like people should be that way. You should want to see positive things happen in our community. If people are trying to do positive things,
and it's
help them.
And it's so funny to have that outlook. I think it's such an underrated outlook to have on things, especially when it comes to just helping people, that you don't always have to have the answer.
No.
Right? No, and I just had an interview for an endorsement yesterday evening, and this was kind of one of the answers that I gave because they asked about something, and I was just like, listen, I'm like, you're not going to be an expert on everything, and I don't think it's reasonable to expect somebody to be an expert on everything. But you should expect somebody, especially in certain roles, to have relationships with people who are the experts and being able to rely on them. And just knowing that at the end of the day, when people come to you and ask for help, that you can either give them an answer or be humble enough to say, I don't know that, but check out this person who I know. Let me see if I can connect you, because that's their field of expertise. Exactly. And I feel like that's an underrated skill that I think a lot more people have than they're willing to admit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're just crossing the first 10 years for North Shore Juneteenth. What do you want to see accomplished within the next 10 years?
Ooh. I would love for us to do more with youth. So I think a youth program would be really nice for North Shore Juneteenth Association. And we actually had someone reach out to us recently. And you probably know Gina. She's a pastor at
Pastor Gina, yeah.
So she reached out about a youth program. So we're going to be meeting on that. But yeah, I would love for us to have a youth, branch of our organization. You know what I mean? That they just do volunteer
work.
Things. And if they need help, they can come to us and say, the adult branch, and say, we're trying to do this, but we're not really sure. We're hitting this wall here. How can we make this happen? But I would love to see a youth membership of North Shore Juneteenth Association that is just working in the city and doing things.
That would be awesome.
They have so much to share with our community. It's the ideas they have. We wouldn't think of what they're going to think of. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that generational change, just the way that, and it's so funny because I don't feel like we're that far removed from it. But I remember being in my 20s and, and working in an office area and just being like, I have all these ideas, and, and no one would listen to me because I was, because I was in my mid 20s and I was just, computers, that's weird. Why would we use them to do that? Right. And it was just very different. And, and now now here we are 20 years later, and it's the same thing. It's funny how, the generations and the cycles repeat themselves. But you're right. I think that the youth have incredible ideas, working with some organizations and seeing their youth-led cohorts, just the stuff that they come up with.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I know. It's so awesome to see them.
And it's nice to see kids involved, at a younger age, especially still in high school, getting involved and caring about their local politics.
And taking the lead and learning these things, because it's something that is going to benefit them when they get older.
Oh, 100%.
I didn't start off as a young child with community organizing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if I did, imagine how far along we would probably be. You know what I mean? If we knew then. So it's nice to see that they're being embraced. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah. I started young with the community organizing, but not with understanding the importance of local politics. And I think that I love seeing some of the youth organizations that combine that, so that you have both the understanding of how important your local electeds are, because your local electeds are the one who shape they're the ones who shape your day-to-day life, so it is good to see them involved in that process, because I'm a firm believer that the only way to really fight voter apathy by our age is to get kids involved in like the 18 to 24 age range.
Right.
Get them involved
Get them
young
on
so that
board.
they
right.
care. And they know that it's important, so that way they haven't given up by the time they're in their 40s.
Exactly.
Voter apathy is really hard to fight these days. All right, so as we're wrapping up, I guess the last question that I would say would be, if you could give one piece of advice to myself and to our listeners for somebody who is new and looking to start, some absolute dream, right? So there's something missing in the community that they want, and it is their dream to create it. Where do they start?
I would say start reaching out to the people in your network. Start talking about it out loud. Don't keep it to yourself, because if you keep it to yourself or written down in your paper and in your notebook, it's not going to get out there. So don't be afraid first to start talking about your goal and your dream. And then after you start, talking about it, start reaching out to people to see who in your network can connect you to someone, or who is already that person that can help you start building that, because you can't do it by yourself.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I think the number one thing is there's people around that you're going to need to contact. You can't do it alone. You know what I mean? You have to, reach out to people and start the project that way. So start reaching out, start speaking about it out loud.
Dream out loud and ask for help.
Dream out loud and
For
ask
sure.
for help always, and collaborate.
Yes.
Collaborate.
Yeah. One thing that I've said a lot is that in the nonprofit space, there's no competition.
That's
There's
right.
only greater impact, and there's so much strength in collaboration.
The impact can only get bigger. You know what I mean? It's only going to be as, huge, more big than your imagination if you start reaching out to other organizations to help you.
Yeah. Such strength in numbers.
And don't be afraid to navigate no. Number one,
Yeah.
everybody's not going to say yes, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But somebody will.
Yeah,
You
no
know what
isn't
I
the
mean?
end.
Yeah, no is not the
Yeah.
end. Just because someone says no, yes, get upset. I get upset. I'm like, how could they say no? What is wrong with them? This is great. You know what I mean? So, but if they do, in the end, it may be that they're just going to look like crazy people for saying no.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And you're going to find out that your dream was worth fighting for. Now you have it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. No, for sure.
Never give up.
Well, thank you for sharing your wisdom with us, and thank you for being here today to have this conversation.
This was great. Thank you, Zosha.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone. Thank you for making it to the end of this episode. If you enjoyed that episode and would like to watch more, please check us out on Instagram, betweenrounds.podcast, and you can find more on this YouTube station. We'll catch you next time. Thank you. Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Between Rounds. For more episodes like this, please follow us on YouTube. You can hit subscribe or follow us on Instagram at betweenrounds.podcast.